What's up, you little goblins? I'm happy you're here. So, pre-video tangent, recently I watched a video about the Lynx. I'll link it down below. The Lynx is being reintroduced into the UK, and I think that's just really cool. It's going to help revitalize some of the areas of wildlife and keep deer in check, because in the UK we do have a problem when it comes to the deer. They seem to kind of destroy a lot of our ecosystems over here, and it's going to be really handy to have the Lynx in and help that kind of stuff out. It's also just really cool to have just some more interesting wildlife in the UK, other than just deer, badgers, drunks. That's about it, I think. Like and subscribe for more.
Yeah, boy.
Games keep getting more expensive. Console prices keep going up year on year. My backlog still keeps increasing. I'm left skint. Hello, little goblins. Today, we're talking about the games industry and how they're getting way too expensive. We got greedy CEOs, house market falling apart, and meanwhile, my Steam library is bloated. Back when I was a young warthog, games were still expensive. I started gaming at this around the age of 3 and around 1995. Some of my earliest memories are sitting in front of a big chunky CRT, Super Mario World on the screen, with some gaudy 90s carpet under my bum. I went through Nintendo versus Sega and Sony coming in and tilting the scales to one side, Xbox coming in shortly after. But for me, the main thing I remember as my core memories was the PS2 and the GameCube era. I remember being scared over the puppets in Devil May Cry. I remember playing Sonic Adventure 2 Battle until my thumbs bled. And I remember seeing Kingdom Hearts in Blockbuster, taking that box in my hand and then looking down, seeing Mickey, and then seeing the Square logo. That was a combination at the time that you thought, that's insane. I can't believe that that game was made genuinely with an elevator pitch. So, I pulled up some Argos magazines from the Internet Archive. It's amazing that they store this stuff. Someone feels the need to scan this in high definition, upload it. So, thank you, good sir. Let's look at this page of Sega from 1995. I got the figures here. We got Doom's $49.99, and Sonic and Knuckles is $39.99. Today, that would be £103 and £82 respectively. And in freedom units, that would be in a rate of 1.5. So we would have 75 freedom units for Doom, and today that would be 137 freedom units. You still had some bargains back then, if you want to call them bargains. Super Mario World was $17.99, and so today that would be around £35. Dollars, that would be about $52.50. Also, I love this little Game Boy Surfman. Someone was paid to draw him up, and that makes me happy. If we compare this directly with inflation, it looks like the prices are not really that different. In some cases, it looks like it was more expensive, but the average salary back then was £12,000, with the average house price being around £50,000, according to the Land Registry data. Average median salary today is about £31,000, and the average house price today is around £3,000. So 1995, it would be 4.1 times your average salary, and today it would be 9.3. So that is a stark difference. I really went into this kind of detail of economics just to make a point about video games. It does seem like it was more expensive back then when you compare it to inflation. The buying power, the housing market, and the secondhand retail spaces that we had, where I think I got most of my games from. Momo! What are you doing? Oh, kitty cat. I think as a whole it wasn't as bad. You still had cheaper options available, for example, the handheld systems that were around, as well as older systems were still around even back then. The only thing that would really make the price difference was Nintendo, as they always chose different ways to press their games. Now, they charge extra for it. So I spoke a little bit about the secondhand market, and you're probably cringing to yourself then, thinking, ugh, scalpers, eBay, it's not fun. But genuinely, back in the early 2000s, it was actually a good deal. You could go into most stores get buy one, get one free, pick up 3 for £15, pretty much from 2002 onwards. And some people might be able to chime in and tell us stories of great deals they got before that. But if you look now,
oh my god,
what the fuck? Genuinely, why is it that price? I have this game. I don't want to be looking at it for that price. I don't want to touch it now. It feels precious. And I'm sorry to have shown this image to you all. If this made you ill in any way, please phone 0800. Don't mind if I emulate. Thank you. If you've got any friends that would still argue that game prices are no different today because of inflation, just show them that image. I think you might change some minds a little bit. Well, you have to rub your cheek. You done now? And it's not just the retro games that have ridiculous prices these days. When you take into account Nintendo's new console and their release prices, and the fact that since this generation, every year the prices have gone up for the consoles. I think that's the first time that's really ever happened. Normally, it's the other way around. They reduce the price of the console to make it cheaper and bring you in on their ecosystem. The price for modern AAA games are also going up when you take into account as well the DLC that's planned from the get-go. It really makes you think that the vibe of this is actually about selling the game at that price. Do they still do season passes? When's the last time you've seen a season pass? Like, genuinely let me know. And the most recent increase was Xbox and Game Pass. It went up by 50%. Like, that is insane for a price increase. I don't get it. Really, I don't. It's insane for a price increase. It really shows that the subscription model is not the best model, because the only way to make more money is to just increase the price of your premiums. And no one wants that. You've probably been thinking this whole time, Teddy, what about indie games and Steam sales? Well, you're not wrong there. You can get yourself some real good deals these days, but it is a paradox. We are all guilty of this. We go along to a nice little Steam sale, fill up our basket with all the things that we want, and then, oh no, that's another 50 quid down the drain. You're going to tell me that, yeah, Teddy, that's fine. Look at all these games. And I respond with, what time? Genuinely, what time do you have? You're watching this video. Why aren't you playing games? If you're anything like me, you got Steam, GOG, Epic, PlayStation Plus, Nintendo's Online, Google Play, Amazon Luna, and then we got our totally legit emulation collection. But emulation is old. What about new games? There are too many new games. I repeat, there are too many new games. According to SteamDB, Steam last year had 18,595 games release on their platform. That is 50.9 games a day. That is 50.9 games a day. Now granted, not many of those games are really worth a sniff out, are they? But every now and then, you do get a game of a generation. But even breaking down these figures a little bit more, 1,324 games on Steam that released last year got more than 500 reviews. That is 1,300 games that are actually worth sniffing at. That is insane. So, here are my current stats. Steam, 798 games. GOG, 145 games. Epic, 230 games. PlayStation 4 and 5, around 40. Switch is about 41. 3DS and DS, 20. And then I've got even more classic games on my shelf up there, and classic consoles just down there. But despite all that, I purchased a game whilst doing this research. So don't forget, this whole video is about why I'm not buying games for a whole year. I'm not just crapping on the economics of the game industry. Though, this has been pretty fun and cathartic. So a moment ago I did just say that I've purchased a video game whilst doing the research. And I do have some caveats or rules that I set out for this year-long challenge of not buying video games. And if you are looking to do something like this yourself, I would advise doing your own rules, but you're also welcome to mine. I'm happy to share. We've got one last haul. I know you've been eyeing up Cyberpunk. I know. It's fine. It's been fixed. Just buy it already. I think I was more just telling myself that. Friendstop Games. Now, this is less about buying a game and more about hanging out with your friends. For £5 to £10, I get a few weekends of decent laughs. That's pretty worth it, and I'm not going to shun that away. GOG's dream list. So I feel quite strong about game preservation and other media preservation. I mean, look behind me, I've got loads of stuff up there as well. And the dream list thing is something I really appreciate that that's something that GOG does. And so if there is a game that I'm interested in, I want to support that. And that was Splinter Cell. Never got around to playing it. I'm quite excited to check that out. And yes, the original, I think, PC release from back in the early 2000s. Gifts and free games. I'm not going to turn down a gift. Would you turn down a gift? I think not. And also free games. So of course you've got things like Amazon Luna, which, by the way, if you have an Amazon account, they give out free games on GOG like every other week. And we also have Epic. Like my whole Epic library, those numbers I said earlier, they're all free. I bought DLC for one of those games. That's it. I don't know if Epic's plan really worked. Lastly, physical games. If I see a really good deal of a physical game out in the open, then I'm grabbing it. Big Brain Academy for 50p? Yes, sir. But no, jokes aside, it's more reserved to let me buy a game. If I see Final Fantasy VII on PS1 for £5, I'm gonna grab it. Either if it's to sell on to fund something, or to just add to my collection, or to gift to someone else. Like, I'm not gonna let that deal go away. So I did this back in July this year. I realized that I was spending way too much money on video games, and I think I was spending at least £50 a month. And then throughout the day, I'd be checking Vinted and eBay and all these other sites to find a deal, see if I can find that game for £1 cheap. It kind of became its own thing. Like the hobby was buying the games rather than actually enjoying them. I suppose in some industries they call that like gear acquisition syndrome, or GAS for short. So after the realization, I set myself one last paycheck to go through and maybe just buy a few last games. Told myself, just one last hit. You know, like all addicts bloody do. I would really recommend not doing this. If you're doing the rule set that I do, maybe have a bit more restraint, because so the games I got, as you can see here, we've got Live Alive, Sea of Stars, Super Mario RPG, Sonic Frontiers, the Yakuza Remastered Collection, Yakuza 6, Song of Life, Nier Automata, and I also grabbed Crosscode on GOG. And all these games came to, I think, a total of about £100. And this is where the cheap game paradox kind of really adds up. Because when I took a look on How Long to Beat, and I don't know how accurate those stats are, but the total for these games here, 359 hours. That's basically an hour a day, without getting too much into the weeds of it. Like, how the hell was I spending £50 a month on video games? This is why I don't recommend doing the one last haul. If it is, maybe just keep it to one game that you really, really want to get. Maybe just keep it to that. But yeah, damn. So much for tackling the backlog. Since doing the challenge, I have grabbed a few games. Again, it's going back to that rule I set about Dream List from GOG. I'm a big fan of Devil May Cry, and they've been released DRM free, 1 to 4. So 5 I've got on Steam, but 1 to 4, and they went on heavy sale, and it's one of my favorite game series of all time. But because of the rule set I set and I wanted to support this, I had to grab it. And then recently, like I said earlier, I grabbed Splinter Cell, which I'm really looking forward to getting in because I've never played a Splinter Cell game. Like, Metal Gear Solid has always ended up being my sort of forte. I've loved all of those games. I'm looking forward to having a little espionage adventure with... I don't even know his name. That's how much I know about Splinter Cell. Well, basically, don't do the haul thing. I think that's my main takeaway for now. Because out of those games, I think I've only beat Live Alive. This is the only one I've beat so far. The rest, are there, and I want to play them, and I'm looking forward to playing them. I've played a little bit of Sonic Frontiers because it's just interesting to see Sonic in that light. The remastered Yakuza collection is like 130 hours on its own. Genuinely, if you want a good deal for game to hour ratio, that's your game. It's kind of funny to think as well, because I've only played Live Alive and Sonic Frontiers out of these, and I've beat Live Alive, but I've been playing different games since I did this challenge. Me and my friend hopped on Peak, so that's another game I got recently. Played that for a few weekends. That was really, really fun. Then because of Silksong's release, I ended up picking up Hollow Knight again because I kind of dropped it, played it years ago. It's kind of funny looking at your achievements and having like 4 or 5 years, I think it's longer than that, in between them. Picked up Final Fantasy IX. I think I got about 20 hours in. I'm halfway through that. Really enjoying that. It's a really fun, cozy RPG, and gathering dust again in a digital library. Those figures earlier, I didn't even mention the digital games I've got on the PlayStation. Like, there's just so many games. Another thing I've really learned from this is it does remove that anxiety of stay on top of all the games releases there are. It's nice to sort of take a moment and be content with what you have. Use what I already have. There is probably enough entertainment on my computer and on my shelves to last many lifetimes. I was fine with a few games as a kid, borrowing ones here and there. So, might go on longer than a year. We'll see. And have I saved any money? No. I just bought loads of vinyl instead. Thanks so much for getting this far. I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate you spending the time watching me ramble. Hopefully it looks good. I don't know yet. I still need to figure out how to edit this thing. I'm using a fairly old camera here that can only record 20 minutes at a time. And I think I've lost some footage. I'm not sure. I'll figure that out in a minute, but that's something I've got to deal with. But the thing I've seen people do, which is a post video, and I've liked that. So I think, what will I do for that? I think I will recommend an album off the shelf behind me. What do you say? So I think I'll recommend you this album here. So this is a band called Higher Power. Really great fun, hardcore punk. Imagine Smashing Pumpkins, but a bit heavier. So this album it's got a long title. Hold on. There's love in this world if you want it. Now I'll put another image up because this is like a special edition. I recommend the first track, Absolute Bloom, and Kaleidoscope. I think they're my 2 favorite tracks on this. And yeah, this album came out earlier this year, a few months ago, and I caught them live on their recent tour. So I recommend that. Hardcore punk from Leeds, UK. See you next week. Peace. Like and subscribe.